Have you ever tried learning a foreign language? Ever wondered why it seems easier for some people but not for you? Have you faced obstacles along the way? Are you frustrated because your parents couldn't afford to send you abroad to study? Or maybe you're just eager to improve your language skills? If you said yes to any of these questions, you've clicked on the right video. Today, I'm going to break down what I believe are the key elements to successful language learning. Alright, I have quite a bit to say on this topic, especially I've mastered both English and Japanese. Oh, and by the way, I'm Korean. I self-taught myself these two languages, and it didn't take too long before I could hold not just basic day-to-day conversations, but even crack jokes in them. So let's dive right in. Don't focus on memorizing the meaning of words. When you focus solely on memorizing the meaning of a word without understanding how to use it in a sentence, you're essentially wasting your effort. Simply memorizing words in isolation won't take you far. Instead, try to find or create practical sentences that you think will be useful in real-life situations and memorize those. Over time, you'll start to pick up on the patterns in how sentences are structured. That's how you can master grammar without formally studying it. Now, when it comes to reactions, the more you know, the better. I highly recommend learning as many as possible. Even now, I sometimes struggle to come up with the right reaction on the spot, but once you have a mental list of reactions ready, you can avoid those awkward pauses or moments of uncertainty. This is a particularly effective tactic for beginners. You can only progress so far without learning how to react properly in conversations. For instance, there are countless ways to respond to a simple thank you, and having a variety of responses at your disposal can make a big difference. Confidence and preparedness. Staying confident when learning a new language is easier said than done, especially when your skills are still developing. I often see people feeling inferior to others who speak the language more fluently, but if you let yourself feel that way, you're setting yourself up for failure. Here's a rule to keep in mind before entering any conversation. I'm not above you and I'm not below you. I'm on the same level as you. Always remind yourself that you are already bilingual or on the verge of becoming one. So be proud of that achievement. Preparing yourself ahead of time for conversations will naturally boost your confidence. If you think about it, most conversations follow a similar structure. Every conversation is just a slightly different version of another, and the flow is often quite predictable, so take a moment to imagine possible conversational scenarios and think about what might be said next. This mental rehearsal will give you that extra edge and make you feel more prepared. Remind yourself of your why. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the discipline it takes to stay motivated and consistent. That's why it's crucial to remind yourself of your why. Understanding your deeper reason for learning the language will make the process feel less like a chore and more like a purposeful journey. Don't think of language learning as just another task to check off your list. Instead, try to turn it into a fun hobby. Embrace the beauty of the learning process. I know it may sound a bit lofty, but this mindset has helped me immensely. When you find joy in the journey, you'll find it easier to stay committed and make progress. It's all about pronunciation. I can't stress enough how crucial it is to nail the pronunciation of each word. It's not just about sounding fluent, it's more about ensuring you're understood. If your pronunciation is too far off from that of a native speaker, you'll start to notice that people aren't really understanding you. Over time, this can create a persistent language barrier, even as your other skills improve. This ties back to the importance of confidence. When there's a noticeable gap between how you sound and how native speakers sound, it can erode your confidence and ultimately your language ability over time. I've noticed that some people feel awkward trying to pronounce words correctly, so they end up speaking a foreign language as if it's their mother tongue, but that approach doesn't work. You need to break out of that shell, be more expressive, and embrace the differences in pronunciation. The sooner you do, the more natural and confident you'll feel speaking the language. Consistency and declining brain plasticity. People often ask me how I studied, what my secret is to learning languages quickly, and what methods I use. But here's the truth. It didn't happen overnight. There's no magic pill. I paid my dues. In fact, I'm still paying them. If you're young, a teenager, you might find it easier to learn a language because your brain's plasticity is at its peak, but for most of us, that time has passed. Our brains are not as flexible as they were in our teens. So what can we do? We have to train our brain muscles consistently. I started learning English at 25, and even now, if I go a few days without studying or reviewing, I can feel my language ability starting to decline. It's an inevitable process for those of us who didn't start early enough. Our brains don't naturally perceive a foreign language as their own, so once we stop providing enough input, it feels like we're back to square one. I get it. Being an adult with various responsibilities makes it tough to carve out time every day to study. We don't have all day to devote to language learning. My suggestion, find topics or subjects that genuinely interest you and watch videos about them in the language you're learning. This is how I maintain my English skills. In today's world, we're constantly watching something, whether it's YouTube, podcasts, or streaming shows. We just have to amuse yourselves to death. So instead of adding another task to your to-do list, just find content that resonates with you and watch it in the foreign language. For me, it's things like exercise, plants, and documentaries. I'll watch these videos during my commute or while running errands. I keep them on as background noise while I go about my day. You don't need to focus too intensely on them. You'll still pick up some useful expressions and phrases. Embrace novelty. When learning a new language, some people find the patterns, sounds, or even certain words to be ridiculous or funny, and they struggle to appreciate the beauty in them. They might think the tone, intonation, or a word that sounds similar to something inappropriate in their own language is odd or weird. Of course, it might sound unusual at first. It's a new language after all. But it's important to differentiate between something being different and something being ridiculous. We should never look down on other languages. Every language has its own unique beauty, and it's essential to keep an open mind at all times. When you encounter a sentence structure that seems strange or difficult to understand, don't dismiss it. Instead, embrace the novelty of it and stay curious. One small tip: don't fall into the trap of perfectionism. If you become too obsessed with nailing every detail of grammar, you'll end up going on a wild goose chase, meaning it's unattainable. Instead, focus on discovering patterns in the language. This approach is not only more effective, but also better for your mental health. Remember, it's all about getting used to the normal, everyday usage of the language. It's not only about the end result. Enjoy the process. It's easy to get caught up in reaching the finish line and forget to appreciate the journey along the way, but life doesn't work that way. Life continues whether you're up to speed or not, and it won't pause just because you only know a limited amount of a language. We're only here on this earth for a short time. Whether we agree or not, it is short, and we still have to live our lives to the fullest, so be courageous and make do with what you know for now. Sometimes that comes with an extra gift called embarrassment, but don't let that discourage you. This too shall pass. And those moments will only add to your experience, which will make you better at the language. You'll improve through all those moments of embarrassment and face blushing situations. The learning curve will challenge you at every step, but if you keep working at it, before you know it, you'll find yourself on the other side of the hill. But don't get too comfortable with where you are. Keep challenging yourself. Sticking to the same level of material over and over will only prevent your skills from deteriorating, not improve them. These days, I realize that the more vocabulary I learn, the more expressive I can be. Compared to my earlier self, I can now articulate what I think and feel much more clearly, and it's an incredible feeling. I can confidently say that all my hard work is paying off, and I hope you'll experience this moment in the near future too. I hope this video gave you plenty of useful tips for your language learning journey. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!